Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about 5 players whose stock went down after the Washington football team's week 1 preseason game against the New England Patriots. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I'm super close to 6,000 subscribers, about 150 subscribers away, so make sure you guys subscribe for great content. Let's get right into the video. Okay, so overall, I think most players on the Washington football team performed pretty well in the Washington football team's first preseason game against the Patriots, but there were a few players that, didn't really play that well or had other players at their position that played better, which, made their stock, plummet a little bit, go down a little bit. So let's start with 5 players that I think, whose stock went down. The first one, I think this one's pretty obvious. We'll get those out of the way quickly. Tamara Hemingway did not have a good game at all. We were hearing, reports from camp that, he was a tight end too. He was having the best camp besides Logan Thomas, and he looked like the worst tight end out there. Sammis Reyes looked better than him. John Bates looked better than him. And Ricky Seals-Jones looked better than him. I mean, Tamara Hemingway missed, he dropped the pass that was thrown to him. Wouldn't have been a huge gain, but still, nonetheless, if you're competing for a spot, you can't drop a pass like that. He got targeted. Look at that. He got targeted 3 times and didn't catch a single ball. One of them, Heineke kind of threw in double coverage. That's not really a ball that I expect him to catch, but at least one of the other ones he should have caught definitely. He also missed twice on, just terrible blocking attempts. One of them got Taylor Heineke sacked. Or it might have been Montez, and another one was just awful. Tamara Hemingway definitely went down in the tight end depth chart. If he entered somehow this game as tight end 2, which I think he was on the depth chart, John Bates went ahead of him, Ricky Seals-Jones went ahead of him, and Sammis Reyes definitely had a better game than him, but I don't know if Washington's going to put him ahead of Tamara Hemingway on the depth chart, but he definitely played better than Hemingway, and Hemingway's going to have to do a lot to, make up this ground, because he did not help his chances of making this 53-man roster, and, the other tight ends look solid. I mean, Bates caught 1 pass for 19 yards. Let's see. Yeah, Bates caught 1 pass for 19 yards. Sammis Reyes 2 for 25, and both of those guys look solid in the blocking game. And Ricky Seals-Jones caught 2 for 12 and really should have been more, but he got held on a play in the end zone. So, Tamara Hemingway needs to do better if he wants to make this team. Next guy, again, these are the obvious ones. Dustin Hopkins was awful. He missed 2, at least 1 easy kick. The other one is a hard kick, but still a 50-yarder. You should make those most of the time, but a 40-yarder, that's super easy for an NFL kicker, and he missed that, and then he missed a 50-yarder, and I understand it's a new unit, but if you go back and look on the 50-yarder, it was a good hold. I mean, for some reason, Hopkins hesitated a little bit, but it was a decent hold and a good snap, and that's something they're gonna have to get better with, because there have been some bad snaps from Cameron Cheeseman, and he's gonna have to get better with that. And then also Hopkins gonna have to get better in terms of being familiar with his new long snapper and with Tressway, because we cannot have another season where we're losing games because of Dustin Hopkins. I mean, you look at last year, we lost at least 1 Giants game because of Dustin Hopkins. I think the Lions game, he missed a crucial kick, which, we would have won if he wouldn't have made that, or at least tied and gone to overtime. And then also the Seahawks game, he missed the extra point. There's just too many games. Obviously, you remember 2016 where he cost us like 1+ wins, probably 2 wins that season. It just can't happen. And I think, if this continues, I think there should already, be some, competition. I think Ron should have already brought someone in to compete with him. But, if this happens again during the next preseason game, if he misses anything under 50 yards again, then you have to at least bring in someone for competition, because Hopkins has to feel like his job is on the line, because the way he's kicking, it should be, and there's a lot of kickers on the market. There's teams carrying 2 kickers, and I think that Washington should definitely consider signing someone at least just to compete with Dustin Hopkins and push him a little bit. Even if, Hopkins beats him out, it'll be a little bit better putting some pressure on Hopkins. So the next guys, it's in the one tweet, but I think overall, Kelvin Harmon and AGG, their stock went down a little bit. They just didn't, do enough to, those guys are battling for that 6 receiver spot along with some other guys as well. If they're keeping 6, I think Harmon and AGG are competing for that last spot, but maybe, if they keep 6, maybe DeAndre Carter makes it. Maybe it's Dax Milne. And if they keep 7, then definitely DeAndre Carter, Dax Milne, or Steven Sims will end up making the roster. But Kelvin Harmon had 1 catch for 7 yards, and he was targeted once. And then AGG, who was in for basically the whole second half, got targeted once, didn't come up with the catch, got blasted, and then had a nice catch in the end zone on a 2-point conversion. I thought that was a catch, but it wasn't. He didn't, I guess, have full control, and I guess that's a little bit of a negative there. But the bigger thing with AGG, I don't really have too much of a problem with that play in the end zone. It's more that he really struggles to create separation. He hasn't been able to do it. He hasn't, been able to get open. So honestly, I would say his stock is a little bit more down than Kelvin Harmon's stock, even though Harmon was, getting run with the 3s and AGG was getting, more runs with the 2s. He's, getting reps with the 2s. I think Harmon looked a little bit better, had 1 catch for 7 yards, and AGG got targeted once, got blasted on that play, but he wasn't able to create separation, and that's a little concerning to me. That was something that a knock on him coming out of college. Hasn't been able to do it yet, and I know he was playing with Steven Montez, who in the first few possessions just wasn't good, or wasn't great, definitely. And in the last possession where he got they went on a 92-yard drive, Steven Montez was dealing, but a lot of that too was checkdowns, and obviously Kelvin Harmon and AGG weren't getting those passes. So we'll see if it changes with Kyle Allen being their quarterback. If those two, and you can throw in Isaiah right there, if those two step up a little bit, because those guys, especially AGG, he needs to show more if he wants to make this roster, because he didn't show anything at all last year in training camp, and I know, and in the season, except for that one end around, and I get it. He was injured, didn't really have an off season at all, didn't have training camp, he didn't have training camp because he got a concussion on the first day, and only played a few games last year, but he's had a full offseason this year, and he has to show something in training camp, have at least 1 or 2 decent games, and he hasn't been able to do that, or he wasn't able to do that in the first game. Hopefully he can get a couple catches in the next game. Same thing with Harmon, and we'll see if having Kyle Allen back, if he does come back, if that does indeed help him out. So the last guy, and I just want, again, disclaimer, it's his stock barely went down a little bit, very little, no cause for concern, and it's just Jamin Davis. And the only reason I'll say his stock went down a little bit is I, thought, before heading into the season that there was a chance that he would be a super high impact player right away. Not necessarily that I was predicting that, but I thought there was a chance that he would be a solid impact player right away, and there's still a chance of him doing that, but I think he's going to still be a really good player, but it might take a few weeks, and it's definitely going to take a couple more weeks in the preseason, and might take a couple more weeks in the regular season for him to truly, get his play recognition up. A couple things that he struggled with in the game, and I'll read this right here from Nick Ackridge from PFF. He says, he looked a little slow to process and didn't seem to really trust his eyes. Got better throughout the game at recognizing play action and dropping to his spot. So that's good to hear, and I think what, the more reps he gets in the preseason in live game action, the more, the better his play recognition is going to get, and that's going to help him out a lot, and it's going to take him a few more weeks, but I think in a few weeks, maybe halfway through the season, we're going to see why he was drafted in the first round. It might even be earlier than that, and the more reps he gets in the preseason, the better his processing skills are going to be. So really, I'm not saying, I still think he's going to be a really good player. Like I said, still think he's going to be a good player, but it might take a couple more weeks or it might take a little longer than we thought for him to be a big impact player, but still really excited about his future. A couple honorable mentions. I would say Keith Ismail did not look good with the third team. He's going to have to improve if he wants to make this roster, because not only is he did he play with the third team, but he didn't look good. John Bostic didn't play great. He's still going to make the roster, but his tackling was awful. And then I would say I think Peyton Barber played solid. I mean, he had 6 carries for 20 yards, and that's usually better than what he gets, average of 3.3 yards per carry. So I think he played solid. But the only reason I would say his stock maybe went a little bit down is just because of how good Patterson played, how well he played, had 40 yards rushing and 30 yards receiving. But still, I think that Barber probably is going to make it, and I don't think what Patterson does in the preseason is really going to affect if Barber makes it or not, just because Barber has a totally different skill set than Jarrett Patterson. But we will see. Going to be very interesting. So I want to hear in the comments down below, what players do you think their stock went down? Do you agree with all the players I listed here? Are there any that I did not put that you think struggled? So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace.